You're scrolling through your phone at 2 a.m. and there it is. Her name lighting up your screen after weeks of silence. Your heart skips. Your finger hovers over the message. But here's what most men don't realize. This moment isn't about her missing you. It's about her finally understanding that you're no longer waiting by the phone. The real shift doesn't happen when she walks away. It happens when she realizes you're not chasing. Today, I'm going to show you the exact psychological journey she goes through when she discovers that her power over you has completely vanished. And once you understand this process, heartbreak will never control you the same way again. Listen, most men think the pain comes from being left behind, but that's not where the real transformation happens. The magic occurs in the silence that follows, not the desperate, painful silence of rejection, but the powerful, intentional silence of a man who's chosen his own peace over someone else's chaos. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop being available for crumbs, something profound shifts in the universe. She doesn't just lose access to you. She loses the version of herself that existed when your attention was guaranteed. And that loss creates a psychological journey that most women aren't prepared for. We're about to break down the 5 distinct phases she experiences when she realizes she's lost a man who's learned to value himself. This isn't about revenge or making her suffer. It's about understanding the natural consequences of taking someone's worth for granted. And more importantly, it's about recognizing your own power in the process. The first thing that hits her isn't sadness. It's complete and utter confusion. She had you mapped out in her mind. You were the constant, the sure thing. The man who would always be there no matter how she treated you. Your predictable responses gave her a sense of control over her emotional world. But when your energy suddenly vanishes, when your texts stop coming, when you're no longer available for her emotional ups and downs, it's like someone changed the rules of a game she thought she was winning. She starts replaying conversations, analyzing every interaction, trying to pinpoint the exact moment she lost her grip. Why isn't he fighting for me anymore? Why isn't he trying to fix this? The silence creates a void where her certainty used to be. Watch her behavior during this phase. It becomes erratic. One day she's acting completely indifferent, like you never existed. The next day there's a strange curiosity in her actions. Little test to see if you're still emotionally available. She might like an old photo or send a casual message not because she wants you back, but because she needs to confirm that her power over you is. Now, this confusion isn't love, it's the psychological shock of realizing that the emotional supply she took for granted has been permanently cut off. And here's the crucial part. This confusion is actually evidence of your growth. A woman who truly valued you wouldn't be confused by your absence. She'd be fighting to prevent it. The more confused she becomes, the clearer it should be to you that you were never her priority. You were her backup plan, her emotional safety net, her guaranteed source of attention when nothing else worked. Phase 2 is where she tries to fill the void as quickly as possible. Suddenly, there's a new guy in her pictures. Suddenly, she's living her best life on social media. Suddenly, everything is amazing and she's never been happier. But you and I both know what's really happening here. This isn't healing, this is panic disguised as progress. That new relationship isn't love. It's a band-aid on a wound that hasn't even been properly cleaned yet. She's not moving forward. She's running sideways, desperately trying to recreate the feeling of being wanted without doing the internal work that real growth requires. Here's the psychological truth. The louder someone broadcasts their happiness, the emptier it usually feels inside. Real joy doesn't need an audience. Real healing doesn't scream for validation on Instagram. Authentic progress is quiet, steady, and doesn't require public performance. Watch the timeline. How quickly did this new happiness appear? Genuine emotional processing takes time. If she's flaunting a complete life transformation 2 weeks after losing you, you're not looking at growth. You're looking at avoidance. The most telling sign? She's still watching your life. Despite this new amazing situation, she's still checking your stories, still monitoring your activities, still asking mutual friends about you. If her new life was truly fulfilling, your old one wouldn't matter. This phase is actually a compliment to your value. She's working overtime to convince herself and everyone else that losing you was no big deal. The amount of effort she's putting into this performance is directly proportional to how much your absence actually affects her. This is where it gets subtle, and this is where most men miss the signs completely. She's not texting you. She's not calling you, but she's absolutely monitoring your life from the shadows. Every story you post, every picture you share, every sign of you moving forward. She's consuming it all. She might ask mutual friends about you, casually dropping your name into conversations like she's just making small talk. Oh, how's your name doing these days? But it's not casual curiosity, it's intelligence gathering. She wants to know if she still occupies space in your mind the way you've started occupying space in hers. Here's the paradox that drives her crazy. The less attention you give her, the more mental real estate you actually claim. Silence doesn't make you disappear from her thoughts, it makes you unforgettable. When you were constantly available, you were background noise. Now that you're gone, you're the song she can't get out of her head. Social media becomes her window into your world. She's analyzing your posts for signs that you miss her, looking for clues about your emotional state, trying to decode whether you're truly happy without her. The irony? Your contentment without her is the most attractive thing about you now. This silent monitoring serves two purposes for her. It feeds her need to feel like she still has some connection to your life, and it helps her gauge whether the door might still be open for her return. But here's what she doesn't realize. Every moment she spends watching your life is a moment she's not building her own. The man who understands this phase doesn't block her or create drama. He simply lives his life so fully, so authentically, so purposefully, that her monitoring becomes irrelevant. He's not performing for her. Attention, he's genuinely too busy building something meaningful to care about invisible audiences. Now we enter the most complex phase, on where her pride and her regret start fighting each other in ways that create completely contradictory behavior. She knows she lost something valuable, but admitting that would require her to acknowledge her own role in pushing you away. You might run into her somewhere, and she'll throw out an inside joke, something only the two of you would understand. Or she'll casually mention a memory you shared, acting like it just popped into her head. Remember when we... But this isn't nostalgia. This is her way of testing whether the emotional connection still exists. These moments are her pride's way of trying to maintain some level of influence over you, while her regret whispers, maybe I messed up. She wants to see if she can still make you smile, still trigger that old familiar feeling, still prove to herself that what you had was real. But here's where most men make a critical mistake. They interpret these moments as signs that she wants them back. They're not. They're signs that she finally understands what she lost. A man who's no longer waiting by the door for her to decide his worth. The regret she's feeling isn't about wanting to rebuild what you had. It's about mourning what she could have had if she'd recognized your value when it was freely given. There's a massive difference between missing someone and wanting to do the work required to deserve them back. When she drops these little breadcrumbs of connection, she's not extending an invitation. She's seeking confirmation that she still matters to you. And the most powerful response isn't anger or excitement. It's pleasant indifference. Acknowledge the comment, smile politely, and continue living your life. The final phase is acceptance, but not the kind you might expect. She doesn't necessarily accept that she was wrong or that she should have treated you differently. She accepts that the version of you who was available for her emotional games no longer exists. This is where the breadcrumbs stop. The subtle attempts at re-entry fade away. The social media monitoring becomes less frequent. She's not necessarily happy about it, but she's resigned to the reality that you've moved beyond her reach. Some women reach out with direct honesty during this phase, a genuine apology, an acknowledgement of their mistakes, a real attempt at mature communication. But others simply fade into the background of your life, becoming a memory rather than an active presence. Here's what's crucial to understand. This surrender doesn't always look like defeat. Sometimes it looks like acceptance, sometimes like indifference, sometimes even like relief. But underneath it all is the recognition that she lost access to something she can't get back. Not because you're holding a grudge, but because you've genuinely outgrown the dynamic that once existed between you. The most beautiful part of this phase is that it coincides with your own complete emotional freedom. By the time she's surrendering her attempts to maintain connection, you've usually reached a place where her surrender doesn't even register as significant. You're not waiting for closure, not seeking acknowledgement of your worth, not needing any kind of resolution from her. This is where the real victory lives, not in her finally recognizing what she lost, but in you no longer needing her to recognize it. So here's what I want you to understand. Every phase she goes through when she realizes she's lost you is actually evidence of the power you always had but never recognized. The confusion, the replacement attempts, the silent monitoring, the pride and regret, the final surrender, all of it points to one undeniable truth. Your worth was never dependent on her ability to see it. If you're currently going through this process with someone, remember this. Your job isn't to manage her journey through these phases. Your job is to stay committed to the growth that made her loss possible in the first place. Don't get pulled back into her confusion. Don't compete with her replacement distractions. Don't acknowledge her silent stalking. Don't mistake her regret for genuine change. And don't celebrate her surrender as some kind of victory. Your real victory is this: building a life so fulfilling, so purposeful, so aligned with your values, that her entire journey through these phases becomes irrelevant background noise to your forward motion. The woman who's meant to be in your life won't put you through these psychological games. She'll recognize your worth immediately and fight to keep it in her life. Everyone else is just showing you how much you've grown. Stop waiting for her to realize what she lost. Start celebrating what you've gained yourself.